So as we talked about yesterday, I think one of the biggest challenges right now is getting analysts that kind of hands-on experience with being able to, when they get an alert, being able to determine what about that alert should make it suspicious, so then I can escalate the right things and actually mark false positives, the things that are actually just normal activity within the environment. A lot of admins, even admins that are IT, probably don't really pay attention just because they type them all the time. And then analysts who aren't typically IT administrators or really don't have that background, when they see those, it's more of a foreign language to them, foreign language to me many years ago. But once you see it, it's one of those things that muscle memory starts to come into play, especially if you do it repetitively. So what I've done myself is built a solution that maybe some of you could be some of the very early users of that and give a lot of feedback that's helpful to make it a better product that you guys would have free access to, so then we can make this an opportunity to train the next level of analyst with the kind of information they need to actually be able to detect breaches early in the attack cycle versus after ransomware has already started to play a role, started to deploy, and now it's all about containment. So it's really about preventing, if I use the analogy that we use in firefighting, is the goal was single room fire. Keep it to a single room, then the structure doesn't get damaged, the ceilings, floors like that don't become weak, and something can be easily, drywall can be torn down, repaired within a couple days, where once it gets into the ceiling rafters, pretty much it's a tear down because the home becomes unstable and untrustworthy. And that's what happens with a network. Once a threat actor gets into that network, especially if they get domain admin, pretty much you have to burn the place down, not physically, but restart rebuilding that Active Directory, then resetting up all those accounts, and it really becomes a much longer process. So with this, one of the first areas that you would most likely jump into is a deep dive where we'll be listing. This is why I kind of laughed yesterday. I don't know if you guys remember, somebody mentioned CertUtil, is because that's one of the first activities that we've made available. So somebody would be able to go in here, get an introduction, excuse me, of CertUtil, see what the common use cases are, and most importantly, see what the threat use cases are and why they use them. So this starts to educate the analyst into, when I see this alert, will I know what malicious looks like? What this tool can actually be used for, just came to my mind, is during an analyst first job and they see CertUtil in an alert that they receive, they can jump in here, go to that CertUtil page and see, as a refresher, hold on, was decode or split, or which was the command line options I'm really supposed to be paying attention to? And this will really start to build that muscle memory, because now with the real alerts they're receiving, they're getting real-time feedback on what's malicious and what's not. They don't have to escalate this and pass it on to somebody else, so they never really find out what happened with that alert. They can take it from what's called cradle to grave. They can learn in real time in their environment if they didn't learn it when they first went through the module, and get that reinforcement of, yeah, I should have looked for decode, because this is what they use to decode encoded payloads that they use to try to get by security controls. So they'll download a encrypted or encoded package, put it on the system, then decode it, and then load it into memory, and it gets by most of the security controls. But analysts should be aware that IT administrators never use CertUtil. I mean, that's just not something they use. If they ever use it, it's one time off on an AD certificate server where they had to import-export something. They never use it to download anything off the internet. They never use it to decode packets or packages that they downloaded off the internet. So the second thing that, like down here, if you scroll down, an EDR example, hold on. Well. Here. So this might be what an alert looks like once you get a job as an analyst. And in the EDR, you can see that, hey, there was network activity as well. So not only did that attacker download something, They didn't download it from the certificate server inside the organization or the trusted file server. They downloaded something from the internet. So that raises the likelihood that this is suspicious. So this just quick review of Cert Util, not only when they first go through a training class like at a university or a training lab, a cyber lab, when they're actually in the role, they can come back and get that refresher. So that's one of the modules within the tool. Then as the analyst gets more experience, they can go into find the needle. So this is where they get, we'll have more of these populated. This is kind of dummy data for the demo. But then they can look at each one of these commands and say, which one of these do I think is actually malicious? So because in a normal day, you're not going to get one alert. You're going to get multiple alerts per hour, not per minute, but multiple alerts per hour, and there'll typically be a time frame that they'll expect you to do that analysis and determine, is this malicious, and should we escalate this so more team members get involved, or should we just write this one off as trustworthy? And then as you pick them, if you pick it, it will let you know, hold on, that was red, that wasn't one, we'll give you another chance. So as you go through these, you'll start to look at these a little bit harder and try to figure out which one do I think is the threat actor. Because that's what's going to happen in the real world. You're going to have multiple alerts that come in per day, and maybe one of them is malicious, and that's the one you have to catch. So this will, again, build that trust in your knowledge that not only are you familiar with these commands that threat actors use, you know what malicious looks like. And then kind of the final of this part of the module that we'll be teaching you is where you go in and classify it. So these are actually all malicious. These are all things that threat actors will use to do something to either remove security controls from an environment or gather information from an environment. But one of the more important things, if you do find something malicious, is trying to determine how far along in the attack is the threat. Like, did they just get on that system and they're kind of, like the analogy I used if you were in yesterday's talk, where you're in a building, you're a threat actor inside a box, you get outside of the box, it's the middle of the night, there's no lights, and you're trying to find your way around a multi-story building to find out where the safe is. You're going to be opening doors, you're going to be turning on light switches, you're going to be making noise because you're trying to get a sense of where are you at and what information do you need to get to where you really want to go. But you'll be noisy, really, in the beginning. So we want to know if you escalate this to other team members or management, where are they? Are they still really early, or are they getting ready to move to other systems, or are they moving to other systems? Because then that again is almost like when the chief in a fire department does a 360, not the chief, the captain on the truck does a 360, they're trying to figure out, is there multiple rooms that are engaged in this fire? And how long has it been going? Maybe what is it burning? Is there something, some chemicals we need to be aware of? But they're trying to really get a sense of what's the scope. And so learning this classification helps you determine scope quickly. So again, that's what the tool is gearing you up. So each one of the commands that you go through and you learn in the labs, it will tell you, hey, when WMIC is being used for this, they're trying to uninstall stuff. They're pretty early in the game. So then you would figure out, okay, what are they trying to do? Well, they're trying to uninstall something. Maybe they're trying to do defensive evasion. So then you'd know if you got that right or wrong because it went purple. Well, I guess it doesn't do it until you finish all of these. It won't tell you right one by one. So SC, create some kind of timed service. So this is trying to create a new service. So what are they trying to do? Does anybody in the class want to take a guess? Close, but they're trying to do persistence. They're trying to set up a scheduled task. So if that system gets rebooted, that task is really one of their commands, and it will give them a backdoor. So and this is what it's trying to teach is when you would go through that module talking about SC or the service control executable, it would tell you what each one is trying to do. Because in some cases, they'll use, for defense evasion, they'll use SC to disable like Microsoft Defender. So SE can be used for different purposes along different parts of the attack path. So that's why it's really trying to teach you like the language of IT commands better than even the IT admins, because they only use the ones, the handful that they use on a regular basis. They're not going to use, half of them probably don't even use SC or know what it is. But you guys need to know, because the threat actors know what it is, because it's something that's on the system that allows them to kill a process without bringing malware with them. And if they brought malware with them, they're more likely to trip like if they bring that along with them in a building, they're more likely to trip off a sensor, right? And so they don't want to bring anything with them as much as they used to, because there's a lot more sensors. A lot more people have AV, and a lot of AV has gotten better at catching the commodity things that are built, not the one-offs. So knowing that they won't bring packages with them, they have to use something that's inside the building. We have to know what can they be using that hammer for other than just nails. They might be using it to break glass, so they can just stick their hand and turn the door handle to get into a room. Is there glass right next to a door where people can, so wave as they walk down the hall? Well, the threat actors can use that as well. Some people with that glass put in metal, pieces of wire that are kind of crossed, so then even if they break the glass, they can't put their hand through to turn that. And so that's defensive controls. But all of that, like when you get more into this, you'll start to think a little bit more like, why, not so much think like an attacker, like you're going to become a red teamer, but you'll understand why they're running that command and why they pick those command line options, and then you'll be able to almost predict where they're at in that attack chain, and how serious it is the alert. Or you might be able to detect, that's really because it happens once a week, and we've been looking at alerts, that happens every day, every Monday, because that's when IT installs some new software that has this exact path. But you would really look at the path as where this is, and if you look, it's in app data local temp. Well, app data local temp is a directory that allows anybody really to put something in there. So the threat actor doesn't even have to be an admin to put something in that directory, but admins wouldn't put anything in temp directory because they don't want to get it deleted. So you're wondering, why is a service in a temporary directory? So again, it teaches you that mindset of looking at these things with a different eye. So when you get those alerts, one, you won't get frustrated of getting burnout, because they all look to be like if all this was in Spanish, I would be frustrated because I wouldn't know what I'm looking at. So when you understand the language, it's a lot easier, right, to be able to see. And once you go through the training that trains these kind of things, you'll see with a different set of eyes. It's almost like this will pop in a different color to your mind. Like, hold on, I see temp. As soon as I see temp in anything that's related to a service, that's a yellow flag to me. Then as I look at it, it becomes more of a red flag. And that's really why I built this tool, is tried to teach people how to detect red flags in the environment. So again, we go through this one, SE create. That looks like it's persistence, because they want to come back. Then, wrong one, this one's persistence. But anyway, we don't have to go through all this. This is something that you'll be able to do through. But then you can submit your findings and figure out, okay, how well did I do, and what do I need to continue to get lessons on? Because maybe I'm really good at persistence, but defensive evasion, that one seems to be tricky. So now I can focus my time on the areas that I need to, and know that I'm doing really well in others. And then, so once you classify those, then what we have is a full campaign that you can trigger that will generate these activities in your test environment. So then you can go see if your EDR that you have set up in the test environment, or your SIEM, whatever tools you have set up there, you can go do an investigation to figure out, okay, what all happened in our test campaign. So you'll be able to learn how to hunt where it's actually something really going on with multiple steps, versus in real life when you go and you get a bunch of false positives, there's no guarantee that any of them are real any given week. Because why threat actors are very persistent, they don't attack a company every week. When they attack, they kind of focus on it, they get in, and now they do ransomware. So if you haven't had ransomware, it's not likely that they've been in there for months, but they might have been in there for a week. So the next alert might be somewhere further down the line than you would hope, but they got a little sloppy because they got confident that you didn't see them, and they ran some net command that triggered an alert. And then you looked at that net command, and hold on, they just added somebody to the domain admin group, or they add somebody to the local administrators group. That's not normal. You escalated it to the desktop or team or the server admin team. They said, we didn't do that. Now you caught them. And so it was because you started to look at those in a certain way and you had that experience that you were able to successfully catch what's essentially the needle in the haystack, is the term we use a lot in cyber, because, again, we don't have people calling 911. We don't have people going to the doctor on their own. We don't have people opening up help desk telling us a problem. We get something that says there might be something. You need to go figure it out. You need to go figure it out. So teaching you how to go figure it out is really what this is geared to do. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer it. If you guys want to get an account, we can get you signed up.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Solo para que todos tengamos claridad de lo que él está ofreciendo. Ellos tienen una plataforma para entrenar ciberanalistas, pero la plataforma enseña de forma diferente. Tiene 3 partes. La primera te enseña los fundamentos que deberías conocer de cómo actúa un cibercriminal. Tú lees el módulo 1 que se llama Deep Dive, tú estudias, solo estudias. La segunda parte te va a presentar comandos que usa un cibercriminal en un ataque, lo que vas a encontrar en una red, y tú tienes que decir si es un comando legítimo o no y qué tipo de ataque están tratando de hacer. La tercera fase te ponen una campaña real donde la plataforma empieza a atacar una máquina virtual tuya. Tú levantas una VM de Windows, empiezas a recibir ataques, todo se registra en un log y tú como analista tienes que decir esto es un falso positivo, y en el entrenamiento estás haciendo el trabajo de un analista de ciberseguridad real. Y con ese conocimiento tú puedes aplicar algún trabajo y decir, mira, yo sé identificar alertas, aquí mira lo que yo he hecho.